My name's David Rubenstein. I'm 56 years old, although I still consider it young. I grew up on the North Shore, up in Beverly. Got great heritage up there, love it. And I've been in Newton for close to 30 years. I do a lot of business travel for probably the past 30 years. And just staying in shape's really important to me. Business world can be grueling. I like to do a lot of outdoor work around the house, gardening and whatnot, and I've learned as I've gotten older that I need to keep myself in shape. I was very active in sports growing up. I played hockey, basketball, tennis. I swam for a while. I played basketball into my mid-30s, but it gets sloppy on the court and you start to get hurt. And as much as we want to think we're young, the older you get, the harder it is to heal. So I like to remain active, but healthy active. Well, for many years, I really didn't have a workout routine. I would run occasionally. Again, I was playing, basketball, tennis, other sports, but I didn't have a good way of really maintaining my, being in shape. So when I was in my mid-30s, I actually had a sports injury. I went to physical therapy, which happened to be at what is now BSC on Wells Ave. And started taking up an exercise routine there. And about 5 years later, I decided to try a trainer and really enjoyed the experience. Learned that you have small muscles that need to support larger muscles. So you just don't sit down at a bench press and throw 150 pounds on it and try to pump away, but you have to start to build your body up to take those kinds of things on. As I advanced into my 40s, I actually started playing softball. And had a great time on a men's softball team. I still play today, but thank God I've taken on and have been trained on how to exercise properly, because otherwise you're blowing out hamstrings and groin muscles, because I have done all of that. But by working with a trainer, I've learned a better discipline in how to take care of my body. So it's an important part of my life. I like to wake up in the morning and either go to the gym or I go out and I run. And today, I feel like I can run forever. To me, it's like going on a road trip. And I just go through various neighborhoods, trying out different routes. And I've learned how to run properly. So about 4 years ago, I had worked with some very good trainers. And I got an email from BSC, which came actually from Lenny Levin, and it was about lifetime fitness. And I had actually just finished reading a book. I believe the title was Younger Next Year. And it has 3 keys to keeping yourself younger, in fact, helping you become even younger, and one of them was exercise. And the theory is if you take care of your body in a prescriptive manner, you can actually continue to get younger and enjoy skiing black diamond trails well into your 80s, distance running, swimming, whatever you want to do, but you have to be smarter about how you take care of your body. So after reading this email from Lenny, I decided I want to check it out. I'm going to go and take a session with him. So I went over to Wells Ave. I believe it was on a Saturday afternoon. And I met with him and he explained to me his whole training regiment, routine, the way he liked to go about things. And I decided to give it a shot, but I have to say at first, I was a little bit skeptical. So functional fitness sparked my interest because of the great message that was provided in that email about how it actually would support my physical fitness and routine as I got older. And I knew once I was in my 50s, those injuries were lingering longer. I could no longer run a couple of days in a row. And I felt like I was like some of my other friends who their knees would hurt, their ankles would hurt, their hips. And what I was hoping was to learn how to do some of these things better. So when we first met, Len asked me, what sports do you like? I told him I like to run, that one day I hope to run a half marathon and maybe get to a full marathon, that I play softball, and then I play a lot of golf. And as we got started, he explained to me how we were going to work on different muscle groups. And he and I have discussed this in the past. He could tell I was a little bit hesitant. And I was a little bit hesitant only because my other experiences with different trainers were, they do a few agility drills with you and then you hit the weights. And I love that sweaty, hard workout. And as I was working with Len, I wasn't getting that sweaty, hard workout, but I could tell that progress was being made. And I decided, you know, in business, I always seek to understand, and I have to do the same thing here. In fact, even more importantly, because it's really about me and taking care of myself. So after the first few initial sessions, I started to get it, and it started to make sense. Well, as we got into the training and we started to focus on my running, and I was having a hard time. He actually changed my stride. I was one of these runners who was always on my toes and leaning forward. Lenny taught me to hold it back. It's almost like sit back in your pelvis. It's like sitting on a bar stool or you know, riding a horse where you have to sit back and absorb it. And as I started to understand it, we did speed walking drills. And I have to say the speed walking's been great for two reasons. One is my wife likes to walk a lot. And when I go with her, I was always lagging behind her. And believe it or not, I'm 6 feet tall, she's 5'1", and she's way ahead of me. Now I can get ahead of her. And with all my business travel and being in airports, I just want to speed walk my way through airports and just get out of there. Either get to my gate or get out of the airport. And now I can really motor along quickly at a nice clip. But that training method helped me understand how to run better. And now I can run every day. I ran 4 miles this morning. I feel great. No soreness, no aches and pains in the knees or the ankles. And as part of that, Lenny taught me how to strengthen my hips and gave me a great set of exercises that I can do in the hotel room. You don't need weights. I don't even have to bring a resistance band with me. I have about a 10-minute routine of just strengthening my hips that he's taught me, and I feel like I have a whole toolkit of exercises that just travel with me, even if I didn't bring my sneakers or my workout gear with me. Well, you know, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, how to focus better. So as he was, I'll say, retraining my stride, I'll never forget one day he saw me at the gym and I was running on the treadmill and, you know, asked me to pause for a moment and told me that when I'm going forward with my leg to think as if I am stepping over a puddle and to get a better sway through my hips. So those little tips and tricks not only has helped the running, but also my golf game. So, you know, as part of having any fitness, you really need to loosen up. And I can be very tight. I put all the stress in my life into my shoulders. I feel it pulling tendons down from my brain, and I get the headaches. And a lot of the exercises we did were to loosen up my body. You know, I had said that I was a little bit skeptical at first, and there were some I'll call it limber up and loosen up exercises where we actually went into the dance studio and we did some ballroom dancing. And I thought, this is pretty interesting. Maybe my wife will appreciate it. I'm not really sure where this is going. But as we went through it, I could feel that my hips, my torso, my pelvis, everything was starting to loosen up. And then when we got into the heavier exercises, things just flowed smoother. And even today, when I run, I just feel like my legs are flying forward. There's a lot less resistance. I'm not fighting gravity. And it's given me a lot of confidence in those abilities. And when it translates to golf, golf to me is the ultimate test of ethics in a person as well as focus. And giving me that kind of focus and confidence in my hip turn and everything else. And it translated to softball as well. I finally had a season where I hit 4 or 5 home runs. And I think a lot of that had to do with just loosening up my body and understanding how to turn and the mechanics that are going on within all of that. So I've become a much better person physically and mentally because of this life fitness routine. Well, posture, I think posture is a struggle for most of us Homo sapiens. You know, standing up straight's just not in the DNA. And I know that my shoulders can slouch in and I need to stand up. And I've translated a lot of that to just my everyday walking routines or wherever I'm traveling or whatnot. I'm a lot more conscious of it. But I also learned some exercises to help loosen up the chest and this whole section of my body. I can't say that I'm great at it, but I continue to work at it. But additionally, in learning this life fitness routine, I was watching a show on PBS one evening, and it was about longevity, and you can tell I'm a little obsessed with wanting to live a healthy life for a long time. And on the show, they talked about the fact that you see a lot of elderly people shuffle along. The reason being, people don't think to stretch their ankles and to twist and to turn them. And Len had taught me a few exercises to do that. I remember we took our shoes off one day and stood up and twisted our ankles back and forth. I think it was 10 or 12 rotations. That's part of my daily stretching routine now. So I've incorporated a lot of those things into my daily routine, which again makes me feel like I'm much younger than 56. I can't understand that number at times. Well, workouts where I'm incorporating parts of my body I've never worked with, doing things with my ankles, working my hips. I only thought of hip exercises as these weight machines where you're, pushing out your legs and you've got the 110 pounds or whatever it is that you throw on there. But there were many more exercises that were starting to incorporate different portions of my body where traditionally when you work out, you think about heavy weights and bench pressing and bicep curls and leg presses and things like that. We've gone beyond all of that, but without the struggle, and I'll say the ego struggle of putting a lot of weights on the bar, because it just really doesn't matter how much weight you can push. Well, the program brought my mind and body together, and it's interesting. I have a daughter who is pre-med, and she's in the midst of her anatomy studies, and we've been talking about how it all comes together and how everything is interconnected. And I'm a big believer the most important part to connect to is your mind, and that you focus on the muscle set or the portion of the body, and it seems to me that it translates to better results. So I take that when I'm running and I think about stepping over that puddle as I push my leg forward and swinging off my hips and being back, in my pelvis. And I have a good friend who's a marathon runner, and he tells me that's exactly how he's thinking when he's running. He doesn't listen to music or podcasts. He's focusing on the performance of his body, but it all starts in your mind. One of my favorite sessions was actually the ballroom dancing. Totally unfamiliar, easy to be skeptical about. The male testosterone levels might not think it's such a cool thing, but boy, it takes a lot of concentration and focus, but there's great benefits to it in the way it helped to limber up my body. I also like when we went upstairs on the track, and I'd have to run a few laps or speed walk some laps and then go and do some exercises. I like that kind of interval training because it breaks things up. And then just the exercises that I do probably every other day, which is the hip strengthening, where I'm lying on my side and raising my legs, and doing different movements with my legs. But I feel so much stronger down in my hips. I have a lot more confidence when I go out to run or I have to speed walk through Logan Airport. Well, my approach has changed because I'm not so focused on being on the weight circuit. I still enjoy lifting weights. I do it to have more of a tone and firmness. I'm not out there competing to see who can lift the most. But I like that I can incorporate all of these other exercises that I don't even need to be at a gym. And what it does is it takes the excuse out of not exercising. Because, we all have those down days. But if I don't do it, I certainly notice it by the end of the day that I don't feel myself. And I like to do it because I maintain a very strong pace at work as well as around the house and everything that I like to do. Well, I would say that, my wife has seen a very good change in me because she's a workout fanatic and she likes to see that I go and do something every day. And prior to working with Lenny, I probably did the gym 2-3 days a week, maybe 4 as an exception. And she just sees that I have better energy in my step and that, she knows that when she wakes up in the morning, I'm not there because I'm at the gym. So she notices that my daughters certainly, have seen that I've got more energy, more strength. They think that I'm 30 years old, but they're biased. They're my daughters. Well, I highly recommend that people try it out because particularly as we get older, there's no reason to get younger. Well, I'm going to back up on that. As we get older, we should be able to get younger. And taking on this kind of an approach, it takes a bit of time to learn through and climb that learning curve, but it's not complex, it's not difficult, and you can take it with you wherever you go. Well, I love the speed walking. And for the amount of time I spend in hotels and airports, I've just found it to be a really valuable skill to have. I never would have, been able to walk at the rate and the pace and have the comfort if I hadn't met Lenny. I always thought I could speed walk. I remember, going to summer camp and being in the speed walking contests and whatnot, only because I have long legs. But now I really know how to get it done. And it helps me get out of crowds quickly, like when I'm in the city. So, that's been great. And again, I just feel like I can work outside all day long around the house, which I love to do, particularly in this kind of weather. So I've got a set of skills that I can take with me for life.